And you may see me doing some of the right-hand side engagement while the rest of you are doing left-hand side engagement. You can see some of the organizing questions and why those questions are here. And for those of you who maybe missed the first conversation that led into this, we have been collectively going through a strategic development process. This is the first of 2 workshops to really help refine our roles, especially, and how those roles work together. This is the first step, but it is not the whole process. So I wanted to just preface that to say that we are getting started today, but we know that we won't necessarily finish all of the work we need to do today in order to plan for the coming years. So welcome, and if you can jump into that mirror board, feel free to jump in now.
Yep, the link to the mirror board is in the Omi meeting chat. sticky notes that describe yourself or other groups that you see represented inside of the Omi group. And right now we're going to do some clustering. So if you see, let's take all these stickers. Let's convert them to to emojis really quick, so that we can drag these things around and start clustering them.
Our kitties, yes.
Just gonna
get rid of the cats. Yes.
No, I'm not gonna get rid of them. I'm gonna add them as emojis so we can drag them around.
Yeah, no, they're helpful. And some of you are going to notice what I was doing on the right side, which is starting to cluster based on the existing functions we already have in our community and where those functions sort of need to fit in order for us to get things done. One thing I'm noticing is that we have relatively few maintainers, and this is something that's come up before, but we're going to start to do a little bit of sort of strategic needs assessment based on this role outline and get a sense of where we have some strength and also where we need to maybe recruit or grow and really, be thoughtful about how we partner in order to be effective.
And if you haven't put some emojis on some of these sticky notes and you see things that represent yourself, go ahead and add those now, and we'll start clustering in just a second.
If you'd like, I can drag in bigger stickies or something to be labels. Looks like we're figuring it out.
Looks like we got some going on the side too. Eva's been clustering on the side over there. So we've got some groups that we've already self-identified with the website and media creators, interoperators, event organizers, and working groups. I think as we cluster, we'll kind of start to see things like that as well. So we've got more like engineering focused people, or also could be some open source maintainers, volunteers in this space.
Obviously, some of these things go to more than one. And we might need to cluster differently. What we wanted to see here is also sort of where our existing efforts might be undernourished in terms of different types of roles. So maintainers being one of those things we've noticed, but also recognizing that we might be really strong in certain things and maybe need to let go of other certain types of activities or things. And so that's part of where we're going to move forward from this process. But first, it helps to see sort of who's in the room. Thank you for being super clear about the different types of roles you're holding on to. We know that you may not be wanting to do that in this community, even if it is what you do for a living. And so we're going to explore a little bit of that as well, and sort of what makes this community rewarding and beneficial for everyone, where our participation matters.
Yeah, I'm going to start introducing the next bit here. So what brings you here? So we know a little bit about who's in this group, but what brought you here initially to OMI? And what do you think brings other people to this community? What do we project outwards?
So personally, one of the things that drew me to this community was understanding how much goes into making a metaverse and how impossible it is for a single team to fully achieve it unless you have $1 billion at your back. But there's also a lot of things that you're never going to consider because of everybody's different viewpoints on what the metaverse can be. So simply being a part of this, you can learn more about how other people are approaching it, and then you can figure out how you can bring your visions closer together. So you can be in alignment and create something that's a stronger metaverse than your original vision.
Yeah, I'm hearing like having representation, even if you're not part of one of these big organizations, that really identifies with something that I connect with, at least.
Also, as you're building your own projects, understanding what other people do let you really fall in alignment so that you can actually be interactive with their other projects.
So just like exploring different projects within the metaverse, getting more knowledge about them.
Yeah, like for example, if you're developing the avatar format, you can know like, hey, as I'm building my project, maybe we can utilize this avatar format that will be compatible that multiple people are using in their projects, and then suddenly you can have a crossover simply by knowing about this format that's under development.
Mm-hmm.
What's a standards holder?
I wasn't certain about that one either. I didn't put my name under it.
I interpret it as someone who can influence the standards, like someone who actually holds the infrastructure or whatever to accomplish it.
I would interpret as Omi having like Omi audio emitter, so Omi would be the holder of that standard.
Which this is Christine. I think you mean like what I thought of it as a participant or some other role in a standards organization in the definition.
Gotcha.
I have a quick question. I see a lot here about the belief in open source, the metaverse to be open to all. And I'm wondering how people would put that into their own words. What is open?
Well, I can start with the idea of open source being that we should all be able to improve the code in a common baseline and build together, rise up an ecosystem, build an ecosystem. Though we're not building a platform, we do believe in open source code in the way that the audio emitter exists so that anyone can add it to their solution, their product, and not be worried about legal issues, and also be able to contribute back.
Gotcha.
This isn't always the case, but I see open broadly as building something that's a commons that many people freely have access to, and that can take different forms depending on whether you're talking about code or art or other things.
You're thinking not privatized.
That's a nuanced distinction, and probably depends on what you're talking about.
Commons as in a common space.
Commons is in everybody can freely benefit from it.
Gotcha.
I can add, when I say open, I'm saying open as the default. So open source as the default. The ability to add on and contribute to and lift each other up as the default. I have no problem with proprietary or walled gardens or any of that stuff as long as they're not the default, or as long as we don't give them even any wiggle room to pretend like they are the default. And if there's a road that connects the metaverse and it's owned by one company, that is not open. But if the road that connects the metaverse is open by default and it leads you to the pearly gates of these walled gardens, that is open by default. That is what I mean when I say open. Good question.
Hey Ben, welcome. If you're just joining us, we're in this Miro board. You can find the link in the Omi meeting chat. Just scroll below. I'll repost it.
And for those who are just joining us, if it's the 9 o'clock hour, we did take a moment to introduce ourselves. We did a quick question of just who we are and what roles we're holding. And feel free to jump in as you get here today and as you land. And then we're in the 9 o'clock question, specifically focused on why we participate here in OMI, and drilling into that question.
Going back to this open question, one thing that I really like seeing is open as in there's no gatekeepers. So if we're talking about an app ecosystem, there's app stores that kind of hold the keys to you being distributed on that platform or not. One of the reasons I like the web, this is not the only platform out there that allows for this, but is the biggest one, is anyone can publish a website. There's no barrier to entry really, so I can get my content out there very quickly and get it to everyone out there. I don't need approval from other groups.
So it's permissionless in that way. You don't have to ask permission.
Right. Yeah. I think that one's really important.
Definitely.
What's the cost? We've seen lots of parts of the internet that I'm sure a bunch of us would not agree with. But if it's I don't know. It's a complicated topic here. It goes into freedom of speech and all that sort of side of things. There's a lot of it's just it would be a scary world if there were only 3 companies that got to control what we could and couldn't see, I guess.
Absolutely. It's really interesting to see everybody's perspectives on, the values that they carry.
Yeah, there's something to be said for permissions as well, just not centralized in a duopoly or something. Making sure each of us is equally empowered to give permissions as to what, who we see, for example, who's allowed to harass us or get too close to our avatars. There's still some consent and permissions there that I think are important to protect. Permissionless, I don't think is truly permissionless. I don't think is a good thing.
I think there's definitely the question of what we want, and then that being limited by how are we actually going to pull that off?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a lot of the conversations that we're starting to have around here. But we could definitely be doing more.
I love these comments. These are great, by the way. Thank you for being super honest with where you're at. And it's totally fine to be honest here. This is our board to be able to figure this stuff out. So everything from job and career development are totally appropriate here. But also, the big questions we're sitting with are totally fine. It's okay not to know why. Or to be an explorer and to not necessarily have all the answers right now. I really like the Red Eagle. Thank you for that prompt around the prompt on openness, and I want to thank you for being super clear around what open means to all of you, because it does mean a lot of different things to people, and I don't think we've been very articulate about what that means to this community as a whole. Beyond our value statement, we haven't put out a lot into the world about our vision for an open metaverse yet. We might choose to do so, but we haven't done that up to this point, and that's part of why we wanted to do this process today.
One thing I see here is connect and protect. What parts of connecting people and protecting people do you think Omi like represents?
I didn't write it, but I can add to it what I think it relates to. One of the things I was just talking about is protecting, and that open is the default, or that that one company doesn't own it all, or that we're not beholden to three companies' needs.
So kind of defending open platforms.
I put it.
Yeah,
I put it, and specifically, it relates to doing this work in the open in order to protect all of us as a whole, as a field. So, speaking to the larger, broader global community as well, and making sure that we do this work in the open for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, making like, yeah, you're really hitting on something that's very important, I think, to our group, is like making, in a grandiose vision, it would be really great if we collectively could demonstrate how open is just as beneficial to you as trying to draw a line in the sand and being closed. We need to, it would be great, I want to say we need to, but I'm going to try to avoid that language, but it would be great if we could demonstrate or make folks want to be part of the open metaverse and see how it can serve them, and have that value prop of that outweigh the desire to try to carve lines in the sand and compete in this old school fashion, right? It's like, how do we make the open as attractive as trying to take your ball and go home? So protecting that. Connecting. Yeah.
When we have a lot of things, so for supporting Omi and its values, which sorts of values resonate with you? And also, like, when we're talking about the values, are we talking about, there's like our core values on our GitHub? I can bring that up really quick. Is it that group of values? Is it something else? Where are you finding? Is it these? I don't know if people see that. It's kind of zoomed out, but I always want to know, like, are people seeing this and aligning with these values, or are they kind of like distilling our values from like the messaging that we have elsewhere? I think we try and use a lot of these in all of our communication. So just wondering if people have seen these.
To be honest with you, this is how I feel about it, but I don't think I am the typical user. So when I see text like that, I automatically ignore it, looking at it as corporate speak. Now, I might be entirely wrong to do that, but I don't know. It seems like lengthy and not in specific, but that's how I fit from when I joined at first. The first day, I skipped over it.
Have you seen one that really stands out to you as being a good example that gets right to the point?
I think about a talk.
What is the aim?
When I saw a talk the other day on Wendy's. It was like, we help empower, corporations to deliver things. It was really long, and then they suggested fast food, healthy fast food. So, like, 3 words I felt like were, often, more powerful. But that's just, again, purely my opinion.
We do have the 3-word text. So I don't know if you were there like a year ago when I was there when we collaboratively worked on those tags. So I can assure you these are not corporate slogans. we actually all wrote these together.
Yep.
Yeah. I will buffer you real quick, Red, that you said that was your initial assumption, and you are representing a persona in that case, that there's probably other people like you who see that and ignore it. So thank you for your honest answer. And it also hits on something that's important, and that is that not only do we have core values, but if you're a member of this group, you have to understand why we actually have those core values, and understand why they're not just corporate speak. They have to serve a purpose, because it's not just checking a box. We didn't just make core values to say, okay, we did it, let's move on. We made core values because that was representing why we were all here and what would align us. And when we first kicked off, we used that to pull ourselves together, because we have such a diverse background. Some people here own startups, some people have products, some have platforms, some are pushing their communities and want everyone to join in their community, like you. Some people are out here pushing for open source and don't have any agenda, but literally just want to contribute to open source. So some people hate blockchain. Some people are here only talking about NFTs and blockchain, right? And what's amazing is this group has not fractured into 4 different versions of OMI. We've stayed together because of what we share in common, which is a desire for an open, interoperable metaverse. And frankly, really co-creating that interoperability to ensure that it's actually even possible in the first place. Those core values bubbled up from a similar workshop like this. But again, you're not the bad guy sharing your thoughts about what you're saying. I want to make sure that you're buffered here. You're sharing your initial assumptions, and I really do appreciate that, because there's probably other people that do the same thing.
Keep in mind that those initial assumptions were like the first 2 minutes of being in the Discord.
No, I think that's super valuable, and thanks for sharing that perspective. That's actually kind of the things that I was trying to get at, is like, for people just joining the group, like, is this what people are joining based off of? And it sounds like you found the values of the group outside of the value statements there.
I think I found it myself in the name, open metaverse interoperability, which I think does that 3-word statement pretty well.
Heck yeah.
It's a long name, but it says exactly what we do. So
yeah, yeah, we did it.
It's always funny when somebody calls it Omni, and I'm like, that works too.
we've had Open Metaverse Initiative quite a few times too. But it's getting corrected. People are starting to understand who we are now and what it actually stands for.
And why.
No, we're about to have... Sorry, Eva, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We're going to have our 1-year anniversary soon, y'all. It's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. The part of why we wanted to do this process, because it does, it's a good time to do the sense making. I'd love to hear from whoever wrote choosing to craft vessels of interoperability together, making it possible for new innovations to occur.
Well, that would be me. I can at least very quickly explain the origin of what my intention was when we first started OMI, like what I brought to the table that day, because I'm not the only person who started this. But when I wanted to create a metaverse platform, I realized that there's a lot of other people who are probably going to be creating platforms. And then over the years, I was like, okay, well, how do I then create interoperable products that all of these other platforms could use, right? I want to be useful. I want to add something. So I started trying to create interoperable inventory system or other products like that. And then realized that these people with platforms, why would they use mine when they can make their own? And so I was blocked again. And so I realized that if I wanted to be able to add value the way I would add value as a product manager, product designer, that I needed interoperability to even be possible in the first place. So I personally wanted a group to form where we co-created the protocols so that they and myself could use those protocols to create open and proprietary products together and individually, but at least we could all reliably believe that interoperability would be possible. So that was my original reason for coming here and being super excited about what we're doing, because it unlocked new potential for not only my own products, but anyone in the metaverse if we're successful.
I think we're constantly figuring out I think we're constantly figuring out how to do the limber work of innovation, right? And that's why we're constantly iterating here and trying to make sure that we're listening to each other, right? Figuring out what here is working and what we're not doing well here yet is part of that process. So I would love it if those of you who are in the Miro board, obviously there are different colors here, but I was hoping we could pick the ones that we don't think we're doing very well yet and put them in blue. So if you see something on this board that you think we are not really getting there yet in terms of doing, for one reason or another, maybe it really just isn't on our agenda, or maybe we don't have the capacity yet, or maybe we just haven't gotten around to it yet, let's turn those things blue so that we can see them differently.
Or just in the what do we really
in the what brings you here window specifically. I want to see what we are not necessarily getting to yet, because we need to understand specifically the gaps that we're not meeting in our own internal community here, right? Like if you feel like we're just not getting something, and that's something we really need to put more attention toward, or we need to get clear that it's just not in our community and somebody else is doing that, that's fine too. But I want to make sure we get color coded around those gaps so that we can see them effectively.
So do we want to highlight what we think we could improve on? Do we also at the same time want to highlight what we don't think we should be doing? Like should we call out things that we think are out of scope for OMI?
I think we're going to need to do that after the next exercise. So we're going to hold on to that question. Yeah. Because we're going to be diving into what we really want to be doing next. And that's going to also help us see some of the things that maybe we should, encourage other communities to do, and we support them versus us doing. Right.
Mm-hmm. By the way, that next one is also supposed to be a personal question. It's supposed to be like, what roles do you want to have within this organization? I'm trying to pull out like all that. But anyways, we still got 10 more minutes left.
And it's totally fine if those of you are jumping in, if you want to, start to be thinking deeply about what you really want to be doing. That's totally fine. But we do want to make sure that we are giving everyone time to communicate.
I want to talk about some of these blue tags though. So I'm seeing a lot of there's connect and protect. We don't think that we're connecting or protecting there. To centralized IDs, I get that we're not really. We've tried to start that up a couple times, and I don't think that we've successfully started that group yet.
Which one? Decentralized ideas?
IDs.
IDs, exactly.
Yeah, we've tried doing identity a couple times, and it's a humongous thing. And there's a lot of other groups in this space that are also kind of building maybe the base specifications for some things like that. So it's kind of interesting to see where we would fit into that. Maybe we're better suited as representatives of OMI within these other groups.
We're working on we're working closely with the IOTA Foundation and the Web3 standard on integrating decentralized identities, and we are using that for the users of our platform. So we have a working solution and even open source APIs. So if you want to go in that direction, I'm more than happy to help.
Who's speaking right now?
Gianfranco Campos.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. That's very beneficial. And how can we best support that work?
I guess it's to raise awareness that there is a feeless option for decentralized identities. Right now, the current alternatives charge you, I think, $10 or $5 per identity, but that creates friction and also limits the possibilities that we have in real world. So with the solution that is proposed by Iota Foundation. You have that for issuing verifiable credentials for free, to issue the identity documents for free. So that has a huge scope and the potential for large adoption of the use of DLTs.
Great. Thank you so much. There may be that some of these need to have their own conversational threads. If we see a trend line here where we have not paid attention to a whole series of things that are interrelated, let's explore that as well. So obviously we are not doing a good job of representing or improving sort of the capacity and capabilities of creators. That seems to be a trend here. What are the other trends that we have missed?
I'm also kind of curious, like within this creator community, what sorts of things were you looking for when you first joined, or what sort of things would you like to see to attract more creators?
I think content creation tools are pretty needed right now. I think that's the biggest barrier. A lot of people need to learn Blender or some kind of engine to make something.
I think it's actually the creators, not the tools. The creators, we need more of them in the community.
And it's possible that we could meet some of the learning goals and the creative goals by encouraging those of us who are teachers or workshop leaders to be doing that work internally with each other. So creating a different time where we rotate in and we teach each other the skills we have. That could be very, DIY and open source, but also could help us, really improve some of this flow between the creators and the engineers. I think we also need to think about events between creators and engineers. And this is something I've suggested before, because we have a lot of artists who want to participate but don't know how. And they have generally said they can't figure out how to participate in working groups, but they can participate in events or production-specific activities. So that's where we need to rethink maybe how the work happens, because working groups work for a certain type of work, but don't necessarily work for all types of work.
I noticed that we have called for this type of small, easy to enter session for creation. And aside from the avatar creation group, we haven't really able to have it here in Omi.
That's correct. And many of us are doing the work in other communities because it hasn't necessarily been easy to galvanize here for various reasons. So maybe we rethink that and see whether we want to do something about that as a community together.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, this is Mal, by the way, I think when it comes to creators, they probably would be looking for more of an actual 3D or even 2D, I suppose, space themselves where they can exhibit and show and prototype. That's very, obviously this is great, but Discord can't do those actual things where you jump in and say co-create with somebody. This is more for discussion planning, what we're doing now in the boxes. Whereas, a particular creator is somebody who might build something that is in 3D or even somebody that does 2D artwork. I mean, it can obviously be pasted in here, but, as a hub of where you encourage creators to come, I think it possibly needs to be a sort of annex venue that is actually creator-based, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a handful. Sorry.
Your theme music is super pleasant. I think you guys are circling in on something I just added. I made it blue. Feel free to make it not blue if you don't think it's as important. But I think part of what I'm here for is to establish consistency. I would not feel comfortable walking away from OMI yet. I still wouldn't. I never will, but I wouldn't. If I died today, I wouldn't feel like I did my job. I would feel like I left it unfinished because we're not consistent. We're just not. I'm not taking it negative. We just aren't. Half of us use the backlog or write tickets or follow the processes, and some of us, in all aspects, all levels of participation, do whatever we want. Some folks literally fire off tickets that would be tickets as statements in Discord. We need to do this. Maybe everything doesn't work as a working group. That's perfectly fine. But we all already agreed that we at least need a README that tells new people how to get involved in your not working group. Randomly having meetings, randomly having events, randomly going live and all that other stuff is not conducive of allowing those designers or other people to even be able to get involved because it's random. And it seems like the options we have right now are super formal working group with regular schedule or chaos that doesn't want to be told what to do. And there's nothing in between. And neither one of those things is going to be conducive of designers or these other people being able to get involved. When we first set out, I wanted to create regular demos where we have demo days, but we believe that should be done at the working group level because working groups meet at different times, might not have to demo stuff. We had one demo night, went from being multiple demo days to having one event called demo night, and then that was it. And it was a great event, but then that was it. So I think we could be more consistent in demonstrating what we're working on, creating sandboxes for these designers to come and get involved in, and be more consistent in how we're actually tracking work. It's really hard for me to keep up with some of the groups that don't have READMEs, don't use backlogs, but somehow always have something to add that we need to get done. So consistency is a huge one that I think we need to work on.
So, Mr. Metaverse, I wanted to talk about my experience in the Avid working group. So it is a creator driven, that in the sense that it's a working group, but the idea is that we have a cadence where people who make stuff, they come together on the meeting time, and then we would be able to show people off. And then I also added a request that we also talk about it during the Wednesday meeting. And I found that it was really helpful for these two things to be done.
That is a really great point, Fire. That is and I was barely involved in that group getting organized. That was all the group self-organizing. So I can safely say that it wasn't my biases or anything. That's a perfect example. Here's a group of creators who determined how often you're going to meet, what time you're going to meet, created a README so that anyone else can see how to get involved, created a backlog that you may or may not use, but it's there, but it's not necessary. You created a working agreement which said, here's when we're going to meet and here's how we're going to respect each other. You did all those right things, so now you have this conducive thing. It's not that working groups don't work, right? It's working groups are supposed to be custom tailored to the group that is doing the work. So if your group is a design group or wants to be a tinkerer group and you don't need all of the other formalities, at very least determine when you're going to meet, right? Oh, we're going to meet once a month and we're going to report out our findings once a month to the Wednesday all hands. That type of stuff is a consistency and it allows other folks to get involved. No chaos needed there. You were able to embrace formality as a group, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jesse, for sharing that. I want to bring us to the next thing, sort of kind of related. So this is meant to be more of a personal question about your interest in Omi as a group. What role do you want to have within Omi? What sort of tasks do you see yourself doing on a weekly basis? What sort of projects do you want to be working on within this group? What sort of messaging do you want to be communicating outwards? This sort of what do you want Omi to be in your sort of routine? What do you want to experience with other members inside this group? This is kind of your chance to say the different groups that you'd like to be a part of here. I'd be interested to see, like, are there other incentives that you would like to see within Omi that we're not doing already? Or if you are part of one of these initiatives, is it lacking something that you would like to be doing instead? Or if you feel locked into a role, like, is there a different role that you'd like to have instead?
Hey, I just kind of wrote something. It's kind of tangential to it, but basically just giving feedback to other working groups from our meetups and the Avatar Introp meetup. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, when we do live field testing from Avatar Introp, and we give feedback to the working groups who give us feedback on like things that they're testing and working on. So we're kind of like on the grounds, like kind of creating catalysts for like to meet up in virtual worlds and apply the science that we're talking about in some of the meetups.
River, I gotta ask you to go upstairs, sweetie pie, because people are out in the cat run. I don't want you to go out there.
And also, there's this sticky note about
So you can't do that.
connecting platforms together, and I've been trying to do that in a very literal way with the WebXR Lobby project, and just kind of like maybe, I don't know, I think when it comes to connecting platforms together, it really helps to do things as kind of literal as possible in a way, like traversal research, and like, or just maybe it does connect with Avatar Introp as well, because it's like connecting platforms together, then it's like we can use that as a base to test avatars moving between them, that link hub.
Yeah, I think if you haven't added that one here, I'd really like to see that. Just the connecting the metaverse literally by just prototyping those links. We have this meta traversal group happening, and I really like the work that they're doing, especially in just like sharing all this info, but there are experiments going on within the community, and it'd be nice to show those off as well.
We have, so for Zesty, we have about 30,000 people per month, already traversing through kind of the incentivized billboards, incentivized portals that we have kind of inside WebXR. And these portals they get loaded about 300 to 350,000 times a month. This is what we've been doing to help creators, WebXR creators, monetize their work. So Jin, if you've got a lobby that you'd like to draw attention to, might be worthwhile to explore. Renting a Zesty NFT, so that you can link people to your Janus spaces. Just something to think about. They're pretty cheap, and like 100% of the money goes to the developer that designed the virtual space where the banners are. Just some food for thought. It seems like, I don't know what the scale of everyone's projects here, or where you're kind of hoping to go, but like there's hundreds of thousands of people, visiting and loading up Zesty banners in the Oculus Quest mainly, coming from the Oculus browser, and we're just looking for projects where we can just send that traffic to. Everything seems like super theoretical right now, but like there's like real users. So yeah, just something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're also I think WebXR is one of the easier platforms, right? Because we can link between different experiences with just a normal URL. We don't quite have that traversal experience that we're looking for, but I do see quite a bit of WebXR interop in that these platforms do allow for links between each other. Jen has done a bunch of work in a wide variety of metaverse platforms trying to get these portals to work, and they kind of work. I mean, like, the experience still isn't what you would want it to be, but yeah, I don't know that we're showcasing that here, though. I think that's the point that's being made is that Omi is very much about interop, but we don't have examples that Jen has already been showing off for a couple of years now, as far as portals and things like that.
We certainly haven't coalesced all that stuff into like a shared resource, right? Like, we've done one demo night, as Jesse mentioned, and we absolutely have enough work here to do lots more. How we want to do that really is up to you.
I mean, WebEx, like you said, Robert, like WebXR is the best place to do it, I think, for now. Until because like to be able to traverse inside, across Neos to something like VR chat, you need both the apps installed to go from. But when you're inside the browser, to go from a game that's on Construct Arcade, these guys get like 300,000 visitors a month. To go from a game like Construct Arcade into something like a Frame VR or like a Mozilla Hubs world, like, that's pretty seamless in the Oculus browser. And I think like there's just been like a lot of educating normal headset users, right, on how to, like, on what this even means, and like actually like getting them content so that they spend more time inside the Oculus browser or some browser like Wolvik rather than a native VR app, which makes interop a lot more difficult. It's like it's live, right? It's running. We're just looking for projects that we can actually send users to. Like, it's and like it doesn't seem like we could send them to Third Room. We can send them to, like, I think I tweeted to Jesse, like, he has a XR showcase, and so we can send people there. We've had conversations with CryptoVoxels, and apparently we can't send that many. We can't send tens of thousands of people their way because there's load issues, and so we're waiting for them to scale up their servers for us to be able to do that, because they're working on WebXR support. So we're just looking for projects. That's all.
So with that, I would say that something that we might need to do more of is these demo days showcasing work from our community. And going outside of our existing community and finding those projects that we think represent this space well. I think there's people who show up to these meetings, but then there's also people in the broader community who don't, but probably would participate in those demo days and be good examples of the things that we're preaching. All right. I think I would like us to move on to the next one, because I think it's going to be one of the bigger ones and the actionable thing from today. I also want to be respectful of people's time. So we've got a general idea of like who we are, why you're here, and what you personally want to be doing. What do we want to be doing in this group together? What are the projects that, like, so we've talked about, like, this is kind of our time to refine these sorts of things and really start to pare these ideas down a little bit, group ideas up. We have some working groups within this group, and we have a lot of things that we're not doing yet. So what are the additional things that Omi should be doing and has people interested in it? what are the different groups that we could be creating together? And this is going to be mostly a talking exercise because we should have much fewer cards of things that we're doing here because we're already kind of stretched thin. We just want to make sure that we're like optimized for what people actually want to be doing together.
Robert, here's another point of view. What things we're already doing that we can improve on, that we can make stronger?
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's definitely a part of this as well. Like within these working groups, what do we need to be doing better? This is and you just feel free to add a bunch of sticky notes, all your different ideas and things. And we'll cluster, so don't worry about adding things.
We did one demo day. We can do more of those. I'm reading out loud.
I want to also reach back to the last block for something that I think is going to be very useful, but we haven't been able to do fully yet, which is some sort of web dashboard or Omi book that allows us to see the community with profiles. Now, this is something that we wanted to sort out some questions around anonymity first. And that's been essential so that we can provide safety for everyone's participation here. We have been looking at tools to do some of the organizational work. Jim mentioned Sobel.io. Also, Airtable is one that we've used in other communities in the past. We have been trying to figure out how to make that resource something that is going to be appropriate for both pseudonymity and anonymity. And that has been the main sticking point on that piece of the puzzle. I do want to really reiterate that I think it's really important for communities to have some way to find each other in some way, whether it's a physical place, a digital place, or some sort of community guidebook, a place where we can go and find each other.
It's also...
I just wanted to say that I wrote that ticket, and I think one of the reasons I came to this group is because I've been interested in centralized social networking on the web more broadly, and hope at least that Open Metaverse is kind of like a subset of the web. Is kind of how I think of it. And so, I would hope at least that Omi book is also sort of the same thing as Facebook of the Fediverse or something. I hope they're not two different things. So, sort of the background of that.
I also noticed that this hasn't gone anywhere, and it doesn't. I don't know if this is something the community wants to do because there's no forward progress on it, and I'm just noticing this.
Which thing are you referring
to? The creation of a identity tracking gathering page for people of Omi.
It's like I said, it's something that we've had some both internal and meeting conversations about, but the question of anonymity means that we need to make sure we do it in a way that isn't going to dox anyone. I went and looked at Sobel after Jin suggested it, and I think that might be the type of resource that would allow us to do what we need to do, but still let everyone participate in a different identity format so that you don't necessarily have to release your physical identity in order to participate.
Would that be a service? So I'd be self-hosting that because I'm not sure. I think we're kind of talking on two levels. That's a bit different than what I meant when I made the note. I specifically mean if someone gets home after work, they pop their avatar into the Open Metaverse or something, and they're hanging out with their friends. How can I see that they're in the Open Metaverse and then go join them? Not necessarily the Omi group.
Got it.
How do I find collaborators to create standards? I mean, my friends list in the Metaverse.
You're talking about a social graph product of some sort?
Yeah, how do if the Open Metaverse is infinitely large, how do I find out where my friends are and so I'm not just by myself and go hang out with them?
I think it really gets to how much of product development do we really want to get into as well. And there's a lot of philosophical conversations we can have there in terms of do we want to, develop products to maintain together.
Yeah.
I think up to this point, we've kind of encouraged all of you, because so many of you are founders, to create your own tools and products and bring them together. But how we assemble them into something like collective to offer to the public is something that we can really be broad and think broadly about. Maybe that is a 3D resource, and maybe it isn't. I'm not sure here. Do you think it needs to be a fully immersive resource?
Personally, I have like very little patience for 3D resources, so I'm pretty much only interested in the two-dimensional aspects of the metaverse, at least for the foreseeable future. But I'm hopeful that, I think that's interesting. I hope that it doesn't need to just be in 3 or 2 dimensions, and that we can play with different geometries, but there's a lot of like common concerns here.
For this community book and guide resource, we have a lot of things in here that are more about information sharing and all of that. Are there people in this community that are interested in doing these sorts of things and in creating content and sharing it on, I don't know, the Omi Group website or elsewhere?
I think that as part of the Avatar and Omi Channel working group, I have been trying to encourage that we write down how we got to what we made, and that's one of the posters here, is that maybe just writing down what we did is enough to help people connect with what they want to do, like the community book and resource guides here. And there's also tooling, like how do I use these tools to do stuff? And there's also this idea of like a book, like an Omi book. I don't know what it was. We talked about it very early on.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot of different resources for learning about Open Metaverse and the different projects within it. Is there, I guess, are there people in this community that are interested in writing articles? Sorry about
What
that.
is this?
Give them for a second. I'll message them. Are there people in this group that are interested in writing those articles, and what is kind of stopping them from doing that? Or is this a different project that is not achievable within this group? I've heard a lot of conversations about it, but like, what do we need to do?
Well, I mean, what kind of articles again? Just on over.
They could be about just explaining what the open metaverse is in the language of our group. It could be helping people create 3D assets. It could be explaining different efforts within the space, like basically a glossary or blog talking about a lot of different things within this space.
Oh.
That's kind of what I've gathered from the past discussions on this.
I mean, mainly, I would want to know what platform should I be using for that blog.
So we've got a WordPress up for our main site now, and so we can add the blog in not much time at all.
Yeah, I could flip a switch. And that was another thing that I wanted to mention, Evo. The WordPress project, the way that we handle like this profile system, like we have badges for people that contribute certain things, stuff like that. And it's all handled through the WordPress user system, the actual site we use. And that is handled through a very granular user system with like controls that we can define. Let's say like this person can only submit posts to us where we review them and then publish them. Like we have ways to control the permissions of everyone individually, and this can be the source for all of this documentation. We could even write a plugin that I can write a plugin. I'll volunteer for it to mirror our documentation onto the website. This stuff is all possible. It's just that we, I guess, need to decide if we want to be creating that content on the website. But the website is a tool we have today where we control all of the data, everything that goes through it, versus using a third-party system.
And PB, can I propose at least mirroring what's on our GitHubs?
Yes, that's what I want to do. And that way the website is the source of truth and accessible to everyone, regardless if they have a GitHub account.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're getting towards the end of our session here. Well, we still have another 30 minutes, but I'm going to post the mirror board once more. You can join us in here. We're in this last phase of the session, talking about the goals that we have for our community, the different projects that we'd like to see, the different initiatives, all of that.
I want to acknowledge that some groups are doing a really fantastic job of already gathering those resources and guides and figuring out what to do with them. How we roll them up into something together is a bigger question. So, for example, the Avatar folks have been gathering their own resources to bring them into a single space. Now, do we bring them all together into a single resource guide? Is that something that we want to do in the coming 3 to 6 months? I think there's interest in the external world for us to do something like that because they don't necessarily understand this space unless we give them the guideposts. And I know that many of you are holding different guideposts. It's like we need to come together and bring the map together. How we do that, like what does that actually look like, I think is the big question at this stage.
Evo, I think that it should be something that takes our existing work, the existing things, and small contributions as we do organically. It should not take the form of hiring interns to do the work for us.
Agreed. Agreed. We don't have money to hire interns. We're not that kind of organization. So it doesn't fit for who we are as a community. Like it has to be a lift that the community can manage. Otherwise it just won't work.
So that means this is like the invitation for people to write, to contribute, and to help out.
Definitely. Yeah, if we want to see this happen, then we need volunteers who want to write this content. We have a lot of subject matter experts in this space. I know people like myself, like I don't feel like I have the best writing skills in order to like get my ideas across unless they're like technical documents. But I love taking interviews with people and working with people to help produce those documents.
So yes, I'm hearing you say that you, like many people here, can be interviewed, and someone who have good writing skills can help assemble this into a document. I'm not sure who can do this, but
do that.
I'm not even talking about someone else writing the whole thing. It's more like if there are people who can edit it down and make sure that it's like readable by other people.
My flow is to like interview someone, get an outline, get some code examples, like tell a story end to end, and then like I write a lot of blog content on technical things, and I'm happy to help there. Like my day job, I do a lot of this, and yeah, like we need blog content. I think I felt that way a lot, and it's not hard to produce it. It takes maybe 2 hours of work on my end to actually write the content, and maybe 1 hour of like interviewing and understanding the subject.
And certainly if others are publishing blogs that are relevant already, we can figure out a reposting strategy as well. We do not currently have an editorial calendar or some way to organize this together, and we would want to use a mirror board for those who are contributing on the media side or on the blogging side, just so that we can keep track and know what each other are working on.
Yeah. Evo, I'm curious, why aren't we using our GitHub system? Why are we using Miro?
We can absolutely use GitHub for, it's just not the easiest place sometimes to organize an editorial calendar. But if someone has a great way to organize an editorial calendar in GitHub, I'd love to make use of that. I haven't seen a great one in GitHub yet, but I would love to, let's go ahead and do that. I'm open to it.
I'll help talk through what your needs would be and see if we can come up with something in GitHub. Happy to help. If
Thank
not,
you.
we can. I'm happy to support you on using another tool too.
I'm only just going from what I have used in the past, and thank you for helping me bring that back into GitHub so that we can keep it all organized together. Managing lots of contributors is extremely challenging on any sort of publishing project. How we do an interview process is something that I think we could make available in multiple ways, not just in written form, but also in videos and in audio. So how we publish together is one of these big questions. It does not just have to be written form, but we do want to think clearly about all of these pieces fitting together into telling a shared story. And someone who mentioned story and how we need to contextualize some of this, because I think that the context is what the world is missing, that they keep looking to us for, right? Like some sense making here and some organization, because it's just so big. Otherwise, this field is so big.
If I go to the Omi website, I'm expecting to see like a playlist of media, blog posts, videos, sound, maybe links of what we've been working on. Yeah.
Agreed.
And
So
these are small.
Media, blogs. Tell me, I want you to say exactly what types of media you want to see there. Like, is it interviews? Is it learning guides? What types of content do we think are going to be most effective using what we've already developed, honestly?
So starting small, we've got our demo day videos.
Demo night.
I don't know how many of your Twitter spaces are recorded. We've got our Omi meetings that are recorded. We've been told that they've been recorded for everyone, but it's not obvious to everyone, say, going to the website that they're there.
True, they haven't been embedded into the website at all. That's correct.
Yes, we can add those, and we can make retroactive content. Like all of the stuff that we've done over the last year can be added to the website, even dated if we want to the date of the thing, and it could be like a YouTube video embed of the event.
And I know some places actually retweet. They have a posting strategy. They retweet they advertise their content on the media.
Yeah, and I have a couple talks that Evo and I have been in for representing Omi in the past. The meta-traversal events, those can be up there. Those are posted. I think we should avoid things where sometimes I talk about Omi in the context of larger interviews where it's also my professional work, and I wouldn't feel comfortable putting that up there, but things where we're speaking entirely on behalf of Omi, I think that'd be good.
I don't think it's bad to encourage. I mean, you have your chair, so there's concerns about conflict of interest. But I think that everyone who is a part of Omi should feel
maybe we could have a different
invited to help.
Like that interoperator group, we want to see people list their different projects there, but we can also include a bunch of media outlining different pieces of this collective metaverse.
That might be a really great use for the Sobel too, if we decide to go that route in terms of how these pieces fit together and mapping them in a visible way as well. Thinking about both internal and external, how we organize all of this content and how it gets done. So I'm hearing that we've got a community that iterates with intent, which we're in this process right now. That's a good start. A community that celebrates co-creation and shared knowledge. So using the Git, using videos of us together, and really organizing that so that the world can find it, because we haven't organized it and we haven't put it together in a place that people can find it, meaning our website. Not just the Git, but also making sure that the videos and the talks and our demo night and all other resources are on our website, because right now they're not. So those were some of the resource guide sectionals. I think we've got lots of interoperability pieces. Jesse, you've got interoperability, avatars, wearables, pets and mounts, space and vehicles, portals, Web3 items, and non-blockchain. That feels like a really great place to start for organizing the next demo day, demo night section, because we want to show the work that's been happening. And I think someone brought it up earlier that we haven't done one of those since September. So let's try and. For section 2, as we're going to step into a more strategic tactical process from here, moving forward into how do we get these things done, we need to move forward on a new demo day, demo night event.
I just went back to our first slide here and kind of started looking at how the different groups might align with the things that we want to do. So we've got engineers, volunteers, aligners, producers, market builders, founders, people. I don't actually know what the HCD stands for. Jesse, did you put that there? And then we have like standards and infrastructure.
Human-centered design.
I did. I couldn't find unmute. HCD is human-centered design. It was just,
So like designers and things like that.
Design. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have some big clusters around this top half. I think that producers and volunteers are going to be really important in creating like these sorts of content pieces. Engineers, we have the standards opportunities. Are there things that like we're not covering down here that people that belong to these different market builders and founders, are there things that you don't feel are happening within this community and like don't feel included in? Because we have these different working groups. I feel like we're only touching people who want to work on standards or people who want to produce content. Are there other things that we could be doing?
Well, this goes back to just advertising the content of our stuff that we've made already and that we're working on. We are touching the creators and the standard groups, but not the general.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, like, I've been, like, there's so much great work that's happening inside OMI and inside these little niche communities. Like, you know, I've engaged with, I've learned about, like, the Decentraland DAO. I'm learning about how the CryptoVoxels community operates. I'm learning about you guys, and, you know, that, like, no one is reaching out to the, like, communities outside, you know, in the mainstream, people who are just casually, who just went out and bought a headset from Best Buy and are just, like, have no idea that, like, this sort of thing exists. Like, but there's a lot of people out there. I think that if you could reach them, you know, they'd be very interested in participating in some way. And like, we can help. Like, that's something that I think that we can definitely help with.
You're right.
Right? Like, yeah.
You're right.
I've just been like, yeah.
You're absolutely right. We need to be doing a better job of just storytelling and contextualizing too. And that might mean doing something like video streaming with our working groups and interviewing y'all together in some ways too, so that we can tell the story of what's happening here. And, you know, once that's out on YouTube, that encourages a different level of participation too. So I don't know how we want to do that, but I think I'm open to making those interview slots available and just making it easy to happen.
I have a couple things I want to say. When we first launched, it was just too confusing for me to keep pushing back. It wouldn't have worked out. And so when we first launched, I was pushing hard for us to have demo days and lightning talks. Demo days being a working group event that the working groups decide if they actually want to do. And it could be like every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, demoing what you guys have done. And anyone from the working group or from anyone from OMI could come and attend, but it's a working group meeting demoing the progress. Whereas lightning talks would be, or we can call them anything else, are public-facing events. What we did is a demo night, and that's showcasing our work as OMI. I think those two things help share our knowledge with each other, also help tell the story and kind of dog food our progress by letting everyone else know, like, here's what we've done, probably pulls people in. So having a cadence where we share our work with each other and our knowledge with each other, but also having a cadence of being able to demonstrate our progress with the world and let other people see it. I think that getting that cadence right, doing that would be really helpful. Second thing I want to say is people like Evo and Ant, both are pretty regular. I mean, Evo definitely, like, hats off. Evo almost every single day tweets something about open metaverse, right? Like, we as an entire group could help raise awareness by doing stuff like that, right? And supporting. We don't have a marketing team or a team that's planning events, and some of us don't even think we should plan events, but instead should partner with other groups. Other people think that we should have events, but like at the end of the day, Evo really doesn't have much support when it comes to actually planning and the operations around that. So I think that we could help alleviate that by working with what we've got. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like, Evo, maybe we interview the folks in this group, kind of share, here's who's here, here's what they're working on. That gives us some content to draw people in. And then when we do have our next demo night, share that out and little clips and just start that ball rolling. But Evo would need support. It's not fair to put it all on one person.
I gotta say, I love it when we get to meet up in person. So I'm just gonna put this out there. Next week is GDC. I live in the Bay Area. I'd love to just connect with all of you who are gonna be in the Bay Area, if it means going to get some food or drink next Wednesday, a week from today. So, we are still a social community as well as folks who collaborate toward goals together. So events don't have to be a heavy lift in order to be, a fun way to connect. And if that is an opening for someone, feel free to DM me, but I think we will organize something a week from today in person for those who are in the Bay Area. It doesn't make sense for us to only be, just here as talking heads. Sometimes we do need to reach out as human beings as well. So I'm down to support that. And I hope all of you will continue to do that in your own ways, wherever you are.
Mr. Metaverse Evil, is there something we can do to start a small cadence on those like large events like lightning talks and things? Because it might just disappear again.
So yeah, you're right. And we do have this conversation like regularly, right? It's not all the time, but we do regularly get back to this point and it being important. Like, I think the point is the demo days, or what we were calling demo days, should be a lighter lift. It should just be kind of informal, casual chat between the working group. And it's where you're sharing knowledge. It should be a safe space. Whereas these events that we plan, like demo nights or lightning talks, whatever we're calling them demo nights. I think that was really great. The first one was a massive success. Those types of things should be a bit more planned, a bit more curated. We can grab different demos from demo days, different friends of the open metaverse who we want to invite to come and speak. Those would be more planned. I think overall, a way that everyone could help with a cadence is the WASM group or the scripting group now is a really great example. Like, you guys, every other meeting demo. Like, it's like you work and then the next meeting is a demo meeting, and then you work and then it's a demo meeting. That's amazing. So when you demo things that are cool, maybe spread the word, share the news on Twitter, or talk about it in Discord, or start a conversation, or a post-mortem discussion on GitHub about like what you guys learned, and that type of stuff is an organic regular cadence that is literally just adding one small process to the processes we already have in place. And I think that could probably go a long way.
What if we consider using this monthly meeting once a month for that demo day where all the working groups just share, and then we pull up from there, because we've already got this regular weekly meeting. We're having the working groups kind of share anyway, but we could turn this meeting into demo day once a month and get half of that cadence done. And then it's just getting the demo night scheduled, which honestly, we probably could do every 2 months. I have no problem putting that on the calendar if everyone is wanting and in agreement that that's what we're ready to do.
I like both of those ideas because not every working group even wants a demo day. It's probably a heavier lift to get each working group to have their own demo day than it is to just say once a month we're going to do a demo day. Once every 2 months we'll do an event like a demo night.
Well, we can sit with this for a week or two as proposal time too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so Mal again. Yeah, I've got a couple of comments rather than anything else. Firstly, I noticed that there's a lot of people online here in Discord who are members of this server, but I don't know how many of them actually receive messages from here or pop into things. Obviously, some people are in working groups who aren't here. But given the amount of people on the right-hand side here in the channel, I wonder if we're actually getting across to them, sort of, or whether they're people who joined and we're just another server, on their list and they're not getting notifications. And the second thing is that up top on the left here in Discord, at the top, where it says event and stuff, you've got announcements, yeah? Now, I actually got an announcement today about this meeting, but the previous announcement was only on the 9th of March, and the one before that was 29th of December. And the thing about the announcements channel, if you click on it and look at the bottom, you can also integrate the announcements from this into your own server. I've got a server, for MetaWorld, which I integrate it into, but so I know it gets to people on my server there. But it seems to me that most people in Discord, unless they're just using it as a sort of Skype alternative, actually are probably in a number of different servers, and being able to get channel updates from one server into another seems to be a much, very good way of spreading the message in basically what is the Discord verse, for want of a better expression. And I just noticed as we were talking, I thought, this hasn't really been used. The announcements, or sort of, I presume announcements would go to everybody who's a member of the server, unless they particularly. So I'm thinking of outreach here, yeah.
It's very inconsistent.
We might want to fix this. There's an Omi specific announcements channel as well.
Yeah.
And I think combining the announcement into a single channel is probably the better way to go about it, because you probably get it because you have notifications turned on for that channel. And a lot of people,
I get them on my desktop, but it's just that it's not so much the method by which you get them; it's the fact that they're activated.
And Mel, you're bringing up something that we do have this wider community that is not necessarily coming to most weekly meetings, but would like to participate if they knew how. And I've heard from quite a few of them, and I wanted to readdress. Obviously, those folks are in many different buckets. Founders, creators, artists, engineers, and all types. And many of us sit in many of them. And so some of us just don't necessarily see ourselves fitting in yet. That sort of contextual building is where we're going to get to in the next meeting. So I wanted to get to one question that Jesse had prompted before we started this whole thing as we were designing this process. We recognized early on that as a group, we need to get things done, right? The website, and that we didn't have enough people maintaining things often. So Jesse had put in a question: what OMI needs are left unfulfilled? Which do we recruit help for, and which do we eliminate the work entirely due to lack of capability or interest? And this is where I want all of us to be sitting with some of these things, because we're going to dive into more of a tactical how-to in the next workshop. We're going to take the ideas that bubbled up that we definitely want to make actionable and move them into action. But we need to sit with some of the sort of like, what do we think we can't do? What is too much for us? Or what do we not have the right people here yet to do? Right. So if we don't have enough maintainers or we don't have enough writers, we're going to fall down when it comes to getting things done. And we want to make sure we get there. So Jesse, did I get your question there appropriately? And was there anything else you wanted to add?
Oh my gosh, you definitely did, and I'm so sorry I was typing or talking.
You're fine. You're fine.
Exactly
I just wanted to make sure we get that question in there because it's really important.
Hi, can I just come in? This is Shirley. I joined for the first time last week, so I've just been listening, and I think where I am right now, I'm really just trying to get my head around what I feel is quite large. But I'm sure that challenge is surmountable. I'm sure I'll get around it. And I think I'd really like to kind of maybe sit with one of you guys, because you're talking about how to organize things for people that you may wish to engage, etc. And I'd like to offer myself as a pair of fresh eyes that hopefully my view might be different from you guys who've been in this for a long time. I don't know if that makes sense. So as someone coming to this fresh, what do I make of maybe how you're positioning yourself? I don't know if that would be of value. Did you? Okay. I just wanted to say is that maybe once I get a better view as well, I'm happy to have discussions maybe on Twitter Spaces regularly, interviewing different people, or at least talking about it, especially because I've got fresh eyes. So I might be asking questions that other people might want to have as well if they're coming to this space as new people, right? To better understand the open metaverse and what that means for them. And what I also think works with people generally is, visuals, right? So I don't know if, I just don't know enough about the community, I guess. So do people have tours where they can show people what this metaverse is like? A lot of people just haven't really gone in to these worlds, etc. So if we can even organize that could be fun. It's an experience for people. In terms of the announcements, so I have a Discord server, and my Discord server is kind of preempted by a Google form. So everyone coming into my server fills a form, and that way I get to know who they are, where they are, and all that kind of stuff, plus their emails. So for those who lose interest over time, I still communicate with them with the weekly digest. And I think that's quite a powerful way of, just condensing all the information that's happened recently. And it kind of is a way to bring them back. So these are some of my suggestions. Thank you.
That's great. I love that suggestion. It would be on us to find folks who could help us do that work. But I love those suggestions. And I think it ties back to something that Jen, I think, posted about Omiket, and as a way to visualize this community as a 3D community. Did you want to speak to that, Jen?
Yeah, just real quick. I posted in the Miro and up in the Omi meeting chat channel. You could basically offer people some blend files, or they just fill out a type form and someone else can visualize it in a way that we can explore.
I think it's a great idea. I think we would need, time and leadership is really the making sure that we have the capacity to deliver it effectively. But this is something that we've been doing in virtual worlds for a very long time. And I think it would really help to have a 3D environment that helps us bring it all together. I know there's a lot of issues there to unpack. So everything related to the tacticals, how to get things done, Generally, let's sit with those and find our collaborators. So if you mentioned an idea, for example, you want to collaborate on something, and you heard someone else mention it here today, go back up to the top of the Miro board and say, okay, who are the other people who are mentioning this? Or, who else added an emoji to my post, so that maybe you can find the other person or other 3 people who want to work on that too. Some of this needs to be self-organized if it's going to be effective. So it's going to be sort of on all of us to decide which of these things are going to move forward and which things are going to get left behind. None of us are paid, right? And some of us are putting in 10, 20, 30 hours a week right now. So we want to be super clear about what we can do and also maybe what we can't do, right? Like, I'm not going to be hosting a lot of Twitter spaces from here on out. It was a great experiment, but I would love if other people want to do that. That's an awesome way to contribute and to help build the open public commons that works for everyone while doing some of the communication and the learning layers that we wanted to do here. So we have about 5-10 minutes left. Were there any other, I wanted to add a +1 to that, your message, LNB, about fresh eyes. I would love to have a conversation with you, what you're seeing. And anyone else who wants to have just sort of a check-in conversation, I would love to do that with you. I'm going to open up a Calendly specifically for those conversations, because I think we just need to continually do that. So if you wanted to say something that you didn't get a chance to say today, or you're percolating on something and you want to schedule some time together, let's make that happen so that we can make sure that we're hearing each other well.
Yeah, I might need to do the Calendly thing as well. Yeah, I want to call out, you said the Twitter Spaces were fun, but we need someone else to pick those up if they want to. I'd like to put out more of a general request for people who want to volunteer on different pieces, or people who are volunteering on different pieces and want it to be more of a formal role. Reach out to one of us. This is going to be part of our process in 2 weeks when we have the second part of this workshop. We really want to know, like, if you have an hour in your week to spend on Omi regularly, and you want to volunteer, let us know. I'm going to change this document to view only now, so we can keep it in place. Eva, I can wait until you're done editing things if you want to keep going. I can also make you a owner of the board.
Totally fine.
But yeah, but we'll keep this open. Anyone can view it at any time, and we'll document it in the GitHub. I'll even save a copy so that's in the GitHub repository.
There's a lot that we can take from this, and then in session 2, obviously, because we do plan on doing another session in 2 weeks, we'll get even more of our actionable role decisions. But there's a good amount of really well written action items here in this, so we'll do a write up summary on GitHub, and I'll start looking at it to see what could be made into a ticket now, or what we might want to revisit next time. Thanks for everybody's participation.
Yeah. Does anyone have any specific requests, challenges, or things that they would like us to make sure we keep in mind moving forward with this community process? Cool. I just want to make sure that we are continually designing for the best possible participation and shared inquiry throughout, and making sure that we can see each other and hear each other well. So, Jesse, thank you for doing that write-up, because there is a lot here and we're going to have to pull out quite a bit. Obviously, I think a lot of these things are not just actionable, but can be coalesced. But it's going to take some momentum to coalesce. So thank you for being super clear. And for those of you who have DM'd me around volunteer roles, let's go ahead and put as much of our participation notes into the general Discord and not into DMs as possible.
Yeah, that's
don't DM the chairs unless you really need to, because we want to really flatten this organization out and not have everything going through Jesse and Robert and I as much as possible.
Feel free also, like, I respond really well to pings in channels, but I like them being public so that other people can respond as well. So yeah, feel free to ping me whenever. Not everything has to be a DM if it's public info. Yeah, like you can if you're interested in volunteering and you're cool with making that public, just send it to the general channels.
Cool. And next time we can talk a little bit more about the fun stuff too. But is anyone coming to San Francisco for GDC next week? Is that something that people are physically doing?
I might be there. I'm not sure. But I mean, I'm in the area. I'm not sure if it's like kosher to go to cons now. Is it?
I know. I'm probably just going to hang out in the park and not go to the conference. But I do enjoy the Yerba Buena park hangout.
I'll be around.
Is Samovar still open? I would like.
A lot of people have those.
Oh yeah, let's do
closed.
Did it close? Oh,
I'm pretty sure. I'll check, but I'm pretty sure it closed.
Oh, that's gonna hurt my heart. I'm sorry. We're gonna find a spot where we can sit outdoors and be in a beautiful place, but we'll figure that out probably near Yerba Buena.
I mean, I think the same restaurants, or the building is still a thing. It's just not Samovar. So if you like the space, you can still go there. Just slightly different. I'm sure they'll make you tea.
Cool. We'll find some spot near Yerba Buena Park for us to gather, and probably like right after work time next Wednesday, the 23rd. And then we can have fun and just talk and not look at any boards at all.
Yeah.
Human beings.
Sounds great.
I like seeing you as human beings too. It's really great to see you all here.
All right. I just switched the board to comments only, so you can leave comments if you have.
Before you start, can you save this as a PDF and post it in the GitHub? Because it's not free.
No, it's not, but we're paying for it with the Omi funds now. This is actually going to be the first thing that we actually use.